Let's transform and roll out.
It's time to talk about the Transformers. This is a new series that I recently started in which I revisit some of those fantastic comics and toys that many of us played with back in the 80s. And in this episode, we are going to talk about the Transformers. And I definitely want to encourage you to stay tuned until the end of the video because I'll be showing you some really cool books from my collection. Hasbro is credited with introducing Transformers to the United States in 1984. Technically, Hasbro didn't invent the Transformers. They did, however, purchase distribution rights to toy molds from Japanese companies like Takara and Bandai. Takara actually had two lines, the Car Robots and Micro Change, that were essentially merged with other molds from other companies to form the foundation of what became known as the Transformers. After purchasing the distribution rights to these molds, Hasbro approached the House of Ideas, also known as Marvel, to create a backstory for the new toy line. Bob Budiansky is credited with writing much of this backstory and naming a healthy portion of the 250 Transformer characters. Bob actually went on to also write a healthy number of the issues contained in Volume 1 of the comic that was released by Marvel in 1984. This first series actually ran from 1984 until 1991. Now, what's interesting is that the Transformers comic was expected to be a 4-part miniseries, but ended up running for 80 issues. What's interesting, even more so, is that the masthead of issue number 80 features a tagline that acknowledges this change. It says, issue number 80 in a 4-part limited series. Marvel went on to produce a second volume of Transformer comics, as well as 4 spin-off miniseries. In addition to the toy line and the comics, there was also the widely popular TV show that I watched as a kid. The TV show, co-produced by Marvel Productions and Sunbow Production, ran from September 17, 1984 until November of 1987. And I can tell you that I have vivid memories of watching the TV show, but cannot say the same thing for the animated movie called Transformers, the movie that was released in 1986. The movie, released between seasons 2 and 3 of the TV show, essentially served as a bridge between the seasons. The incredible popularity of the comic, the toys, and the TV series gave way to several excellent live-action movies, including The Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, and Age of Extinction, just to name a few. And there are rumors that we may see more live-action movies as early as 2022. So as you just heard, the first volume of Transformers went on for about 80 issues. And instead of showing you every single one of those issues, or at least the vast majority of them, I decided to pick just a couple of books to show you in this video. And I would say that I probably have about 90% of the overall Transformers run. There are a few that I am missing, but the good news is that I have doubles of a lot of the stuff, which is also really nice. But as you also heard in the first part of this video, there was an original 4-part limited series. And so I'm actually going to start showing you those first 4 books, and then we'll get into some other books that were also part of Volume 1. So the very first one, of course, is issue number 1 of Transformers. This is a really cool book that I'm actually pleased to have in the collection. I actually have, I want to say 4 or 5 copies of Transformer number 1. There's actually a couple of variants out there that I don't think that I have. I think all of mine are first print, no Canadian variant, any of that kind of stuff. But definitely a really cool book to have in the collection. And I may actually be sending this one into CGC to actually have it graded because a couple of the copies are really nice. And here is issue number 2 of that 4-part limited series. Gorgeous yellow cover right there. And I'm actually checking my notes here. This is actually the second appearance of Optimus Prime, Megatron, and also Starscream. Really cool book right here. I think there's multiple copies of this in the collection as well. Here is issue number 3, and what makes this one really cool is that it's actually the crossover with Spider-Man. So you cannot go wrong with that. What is a new series at Marvel in the 80s and 90s without a crossover of Spider-Man? There you go. And then here is the very last book in the 4-part limited series that went on for 80 issues total. Issue number 4 right there. And this book right here is the first appearance of Shockwave and also the first cameo appearance of the Dinobots. The Dinobots were amazing. I absolutely love the Dinobots from the cartoon. I want to say I actually owned 1 or 2 of the actual Dinobots, but never owned them all. And unfortunately, I actually don't even have the first appearance of the Dinobots here. I want to say that I actually have that book, but it is in storage right now. But I do want to actually show you issue number 10. And this issue is the first appearance of the Constructicons, which is another favorite of mine from the cartoon, and definitely a cool book right there. Issue number 10, and you can see with this one they've actually changed the masthead a little bit, and now it reads "More Than Meets the Eye," which is really cool. This next issue, issue number 22, there isn't a whole lot special about this issue per se, but what makes it really awesome is that it is one of those 25th anniversaries of Marvel, and this is the one that has the really cool border. I'm in the process of pulling any of these books that I see in the collection. I'm pulling them, and I'm probably going to do a dedicated video on these at some point down the line. But definitely a really cool book. There is something about that border that just captures my attention every time I see it. I have to grab these books, but definitely a cool one right there. This next issue, this is issue number 24. We actually take a pretty big jump, and I do believe that this is actually the death of Optimus Prime. In fact, it actually says "Game Over, Optimus Prime." Again, issue number 24 right there of Transformers. Here is issue number 61. Again, a very big jump. I'm going to scroll down here on my list so I can make sure that I give you the right details about this book. This is the first full appearance of Primus. And I want to say that Primus is the creator of the Transformers. So this is the first full appearance of Primus. It is also the origin of the Transformers and also Cybertron. I have not read this issue, and I'm actually looking forward to reading this one because I do want to know the origin. After all these decades of not knowing it, now I am intrigued. So we may actually get around to reading that one very soon. This next issue is issue number 7. This again is a little bit more of the origin of Cybertron and also of the Transformers. It is a trippy cover right there with melting Transformers, just different. I don't know what's going on there, but that is definitely an interesting cover. And then I think these next several that I'm actually going to be showing you are basically towards the back end of the run. And many of those that were in the back end, I want to say like the last 10 issues or so, were all scarce. And what I don't know is what scarce actually means. Like there's no real definition that I was able to find for it in Key Collector app. But my guess is that the production numbers, the sales numbers were all down. We just don't know exactly what those numbers are. But these are all scarce issues, at least these next few that I'll be showing you here. Starting with issue number 75. I don't think that there's anything crazy significant about this book other than the fact that it is a scarce book. And then the same can be said for issue number 79 right here. The Last Autobot is the question. Very interesting cover right there. Again, this is another one of those scarce copies. And then the very last book that I'm going to show you is also the very last book that is in volume 1. This is a book that I alluded to and actually showed you earlier in the video. This is issue number 80, and what makes this book really cool is the fact that it actually says issue number 80 in a 4-issue limited series. Really cool, and again, another scarce book right there. So with that, I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this visit to the 80s again. I have a few more of these that I have planned, and if you were around in the 80s, you might have some good guesses as to what I may be covering down the line. If you guys enjoyed this video, I definitely encourage you to hit the thumbs up, leave a comment behind so we can mix it up in the comment section. And if you need to reach out to me, you can actually do that on Instagram at Regie Collects, or you can send me an email to reggie@regiecollects.com. Take care.